Hi, I'm Mark from Property Ventures. Welcome to this week's New Zealand Property Podcast, where we interview the property expert around New Zealand. Hi, and welcome back to this week's New Zealand Property Podcast and video series. And I'm delighted today to have two of the agents here that work at Property Ventures, Hamish and Jess. So welcome along, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I thought I'd get these guys along so you learn a bit more of the inside of how Property Ventures work. And we'll start off with an intro from both of these people, but we'll start with Jess, because Jess started with me when we started here over 3 years ago in Auckland. So she's been around for the longest, I guess. So Jess, just tell us a bit about how you found out about us and how you ended up working with here, and over to you.
Yeah, so thanks, Mark. So 3.5 years ago, so I was working for Ollie Newland, and I contacted Mark to get Ollie on one of his podcasts. I believe it was podcast 20.
Podcast 20, that's a while ago.
Yeah, which is a long time ago. And I sort of jumped on board when Mark came up to Auckland, and I've been here in various roles, but I moved into a selling role and haven't looked back. It's been really interesting journey so far.
Great, yeah. And hopefully you've enjoyed being here for the last 2 years as an agent.
Definitely enjoyed being here. It's been amazing. I've
No,
learned a lot, so it's been awesome.
That's good. And Hamish, you've been around the real estate world for a little while, even before you got here. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I've been involved in real estate for a good part of the last decade. Starting back around 2005, my first job out of uni, working for a property developer. So that was an interesting couple of years, and then actually moved to Sydney and did a master's degree in property investment and development. So that was a interesting time as well. Came back and I've done a bunch of sort of trades in New Zealand, working at Property Ventures now, as well as other agencies in the past. So
And you worked at both Wellington and Auckland with other agencies?
Yeah, Wellington and Auckland. So Auckland for the last 4 years.
Great stuff. All good. So one of the things we pride ourselves on with Property Ventures is, we started as many of you know, as an investment based company, even though we sell any properties now. And we pride ourselves on everyone in the team does property, whether it's a buy and hold or trading or whatever we have done. So I thought just to sort of have a chat to both Jess and Hamish here a bit about what they've done. So Jess, do you want to tell us just first of all a bit about your journey with property so far, and maybe something you've just done of late?
Yeah, cool. I got into property when I was 24. We bought our first house for next to nothing and did slugged away doing a renovation on it while we were at university.
Yep.
Fast forward 6 years, we've owned over 10 properties, done about 5 renovations, several subdivisions, and built a 6-bedroom home. So we've come a long way we're moving more into developing, looking for land, looking for equity upside, and building yields for our long-term property portfolio.
And I guess your last exercise or project you've been doing, which you've currently still live in now, puts all that into one bundle, what you've just said about as far as the renovation and the development and yield. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the last project you've just done?
Finishing off. So we bought 1,400 square metres of land on the North Shore, and the house was in a pretty dire state, so we moved into it and completed quite a full-on renovation, kitchen, bathroom, pulled out the windows, closing doorways, brought a toilet inside, and then we've also subdivided it off to have its own separate title, and we're looking to build this year 4 income streams, so 2 houses with 2 minor dwellings, and they'll be on separate titles as well. So it just has proved to us really how much equity you can build in developing, and also looking into the future for for yields as well.
Great.
Yeah.
It was a great result, turning one income into 5, and if you sell the front off, having 4 incomes is going to be good equity and good cash flow. So,
Definitely.
and you do all the renovating yourself, because I've seen your place after the renovation, and it is awesome for what you've done to it.
Yeah.
For what you described, what it was like before you happened. You're out there painting yourselves, are you?
Yeah. Well, we're getting to a point now where we're realising our time's worth, and learning there's some things that you are just better off paying people to do, i.e. tiling. So we've done, it's a mixed bag with this property. My husband's an architect, which definitely helps, and he's pretty great with the tools. So fences and decks and painting, landscaping we tend to do. Some building work we get some of our contractors on now, tiling and yeah.
I'm moving forward. You better to pay someone else to do it all, and you can just out there and sell properties to these fine people watching us today.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all good. And Hamish, you have just at the same time now, Jess is doing stuff here. You're doing a project in Wellington with a couple of people. Do you want to tell us just briefly about that?
So it's an exciting project. It's a rural subdivision just out of Wellington. We're in the Wellington region, and we're developing the land into 12 large lots. We're going to do house and land packages on those lots. It's a good angle to sell that way at the moment. So we do a bit of that through Property Ventures, and we'll have the main agency, and we'll get help from different agents as well as our agency lists and our buyers lists and everything.
So that's quite a big project you're doing. And it's not just yourself. So you just set up a JV with some other people, and.
Yep. Good friend of mine down in Wellington, an accountant down there, and a couple of other friends, all separate sort of business owners. So, sort of all have different, skills bring to the table. We've got one builder involved, and spreading the risk. But it's a good way to do it that way sometimes.
Oh, that's great. I was going to ask that question about it. Do you all add something to it? And obviously you're all from different trades. And
that's right. Yeah, I mean, I'm more of the property guy as such, so I have quite a looking at sort of everything going through from consent to sales. But the other guys definitely bring their skills to the table, and it's great to have them there.
And you'll sell that to a developer at the end, or sell them individually?
Like any sort of development, it's usually worth going both angles. So we're going to sell each individual lot, get those contracts on board. So off-plan contracts, which will take place at settlement. Then at the same time, we'll also open to selling on the entire project.
Right. Okay.
There's some good return in there, for the end buyer. So,
great.
If anyone's interested, give me a call.
Yeah. All good. Excellent. Okay. So one thing, you're both here. You could be in any real estate company, I guess, and we portray ourselves to be a little bit different than the others. We do videos and snippets to show that, I guess. But what's one of the reasons why you're here now, being an agent helping people, and why Property Ventures sort of thing?
Because Property Ventures is where it's at.
Absolutely. We all know that.
Yeah, no, I was really keen on Property Ventures from the beginning, because it's almost like a education hub. So Mark's been running these podcasts, which I listened to well before I jumped on board, and it was the first of its kind really in New Zealand. It just talked the talk that we were really interested in, and it became an education source for us. So by the time I actually jumped on board here, I knew quite a bit about Property Ventures. I like how we deal with investors. We've got a massive investor database, which is just an awesome upside to anyone who's looking to sell or buy. And we seem to be sort of in the crux of sort of everything investment happening in Auckland, which is awesome as well. So it's a little bit different to other agencies. But I think that definitely works in its favour. Yeah,
Great.
it's awesome.
All good, Jess. Yeah. Hamish, you want to add to that?
Yeah, look, we get a few listings that have been with other agents, and sometimes we're able to sell them pretty quickly. The reason I came to Property Ventures is really, well, part of the reason was the angle that we had with where we can do all the same marketing, as Jess has sort of touched on there, but we can also, we've got our investor database, which is very powerful, and all the agents have access to that company database, which is a bit different as well. Usually an agent has to collect their own database, and it can take a decade to get some decent numbers, but we've got a big database there that we can all utilise, and the vendor at the end of the day gets the benefit from that. So it's a really good edge in this market where you might have 5 agents sort of competing for the same listing, and we can come in with a real advantage there. So yeah. Just
to add a little bit on that, we do work together as agents as well. So I think that's what's really great about us is we help each other out. If someone's got a buyer or someone's got a listing, we're not closed book about it. We try and help each other out. So
yeah, and I think I was about to say, after Hamish speaking, I'm pretty fortunate as the head, I guess, of PV to have all our agents that they all work for each other. They're not greedy, they help each other out as much as you can, and I think when you get a company like that, and that's one of our advantages that people don't even know until they experience that maybe, is we help each other out. There's no in-house fighting, I guess, like you get in some other companies, and I like to think we're pretty generous of our time and what we do, sort of thing. So no, that's all good. Good on you guys. One thing I just want to both ask you, listening to, we have vendors and buyers here. What's a vendor tip? If you can both give me one vendor tip at the moment, if you're out there wanting to sell a property. Jess, what do you reckon?
Vendor tip would be getting all your documentation in line prior to listing or marketing the property. I think that you'd have an upper hand if you do this, just due to any unforeseens that may show up upon purchasers getting building reports done or getting the title or the limb. It's best to know exactly what your property entails prior to marketing it, so that you can take that into consideration if a purchaser was to find out and try and come in with a lower price.
I guess it comes down, yes, it does cost some money to get a limb and a building report and stuff, but if you can eliminate any of those issues that a buyer's going to have before they even get there, I mean, half the battle as a vendor is over and done with. It might cost you $1,000 to get that building report and the limb and whatever it might be, but they go, oh, what if? And they go, no, it's already done. This is the answer, sort of thing. And I know we saw one. We first started here in St Heliers, and it was a plaster place, and we got to get a building report on that place because plaster's the big issue. We had any negative comments about, oh, what about the plaster? Well, here you go. Here's a 16-page report about it with a moisture test done all around the house. And if there's any issues, we're showing the buyer what it is, and it's actually not such an issue. So I guess that's what you're meaning, those. It
just it could save you on the other side as well. You have the chance to amend some of those things if you know about them, and it just gives you sort of an upper hand when it comes to negotiating the price. So
absolutely, yeah. So the vendor can make the money instead of the purchaser coming in, and
exactly.
If that's the side we're taking. Yeah. And Hamish, got a tip for the vendors?
I think selecting an agent, you want to make sure, and in the Auckland market anyway, where it's there's a lot of buyers, they have a lot of choice, that your agent's willing to work with other agencies outside their agency pretty much from day one. I think that sort of gives them the chance of more exposure, but making sure they're willing to do that and share the commission in the case that they might bring, an outside agency might bring a buyer, really gives the vendor a good advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
More exposure with that. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer if you're selling a property and your agent is willing to work with other agents from different agencies. It just means that you've got other people out there with wider net groups of clients looking at your property. So
in theory, you can take advantage of the agents' databases, but then also the other agents they're working with and their current buyers and potentially their database if they're willing to invite them as well.
Straight away, if the job of an agent to get the most qualifiable people to look at your property, if someone else has got a buyer over there and they come to you and you say no, I mean, is that really doing the best for your vendor? No, and unfortunately that happens too much, especially in little town New Zealand. Not picking on any little town New Zealand because some are very good, but I know a lot of places where they just won't deal with other agencies. That's it. They don't even like dealing with agencies within their own team, which is terrible when it comes to the vendor, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, then on the flip side, 'cause we do work for buyers and sellers mainly, but buyers at times. Is what's the sort of an opportunity maybe you see for buyers this year, Jess? Maybe probably investors coming up this year.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different to some information, some people's thoughts on CVs. I sort of think when the CVs have just been put up, if you can buy underneath that CV price, I'm talking really Auckland here, you're gonna, and you hold on to it for the next 3 years until the next CV jumps up, I think you can do quite well. There's a lot of properties out there on the market at the moment that are selling quite a bit below their new CV. If you can buy them, I think you're buying equity with your property. So
and the CVs have just come up obviously late last year, about October in Auckland, and they've come up because of the massive gains we've had in the last 3 years, and they have come up to where they're supposed to be. So generically speaking, the CV should be worth what the place is. There are some variants, there are some variations, especially around the sea areas, I guess, of Auckland, but otherwise, generically they're pretty, as you're saying, they're pretty well right now. So if you're buying under, hopefully you're doing okay.
Yeah.
No, all good. Hamish.
I think right now we've seen that the banking sector is quite difficult. For home buyers, I have had an example of someone just the other day sold their house for just under 700,000 and now is finding it hard to get the same finance from the same bank for a similar price property. I think getting sort of pre-approved will give you a good advantage in this market, and basically the cleaner your contract, the better you'll be able to negotiate on price. So pretty standard advice there around buyers, but it's surprising a lot of people don't do these steps, and it can work against them.
It's almost the flip side of what you said for the vendor. The vendor have all the, Jess said, have all the documentation ready, everything done, so there's no excuses why a buyer won't buy your property. The other way around, if you're the seller, the purchaser buying the property, and especially in a hot market, if you've totally prepared, you've got the finance, you've got everything done, everything's sort of set up, you can go on the clean offer, and the cleaner offer, the chance you've got to get in it, especially if it's on a multi offer. Great stuff. This is Jess and this is Hamish. So is there any passing comments you want to say to all these we've got in front of us, which is mainly investors, I guess. We're getting more people on here that are home buyers, and I guess also I want a bit of information because they've found us through the podcast, through the other videos and stuff we do. Any sort of farewelling hints or anything to anyone looking at buying or selling this year?
I'd say just contact us at Property Ventures, myself and Hamish. You can take both of us or you can take one of us. I think as well, if you can get a team that works together, that's definitely going to be beneficial for you selling your home. You're going to have two people working your property, or a team of agents who work together versus another agent who just wants to work on their own. Get your property ready for sale. Doing small things can go a long way. Cleaning windows, gutters, lawns, bit of maintenance. And going back to what I said earlier, just doing all your reports and just knowing everything that may be unforeseen about your property, and and for buyers, I think jump on good priced properties. Look at those CVs.
Will be a few coming out this. Will be a few coming out this year.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah, and well, I think you've covered it there, Jess, but give us a call, before you want to go to market, because there is a few things to get in line before you should launch. I won't go into the detail now, but there's definitely a few strategies that we look at to give yourself the best chance. Those first few weeks at market are the most important, and I think getting your ducks in a row before you launch is very important.
That's great. Thanks, Hamish. And also, just while we've got you there, you've got your own website, I think, associated with the Property Ventures. But what's the name of that? And in case someone wants to have a look.
Just like a lot of agents, I've got an agent website. It's propertyauckland.co.nz, so you can go there and see some previous sales testimonials, some more about what we offer in terms of our edges over other agents. Feel free to have a look at that. And
right. Great stuff. And Hamish, as you can tell, he's pretty experienced with standard home sales. Also, he understands the figures. He's done 4 years at university, more than me, about property, and worked with developers in the past. So he's got a wealth of experience there. And at the same time, as you probably picked up, Jess, obviously active in there with a renovation, development, investor type of businesses. So just want to tell us a little, just a smidgen about what you're getting up to now, and with an extra business you've got yourself.
So we've just set up a property consulting development business. It's iamdeveloper.co.nz. If you need any developing advice, concentrating on bringing my skills and my husband's skills together, and helping others to achieve property goals. Really, I think that's the most important thing for me, is teaching other people that that property is quite a good vehicle to get to where you want to in life, and just offering advice and help.
Great stuff, and we'll get Jess back probably in a few months' time. There's a bit more to meet, more than meets the eye with Jess and her investing. So we'll might learn a bit more about that later on, and she'll have some other tips and stuff for especially the newer type of investors out there. So, hey, thanks for the time today, guys, coming in and spending time after our team meeting today. And if you want to get hold of them on our contact anytime through our about us page on our website. So thank you very much, and for listeners, thanks very much again. We'll be back in 2 more weeks. In the meantime, take a look at our Facebook page, Property Ventures NZ, for more information, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Catch you later.